Welcome to Employee Termination Tips. My name is Christopher Neufeld of Neufeld Legal. And in this particular video, we're going to be discussing dealing with the frustration and stress associated with job loss, be it whether you're fired, terminated, laid off, or even just quit your job. And what we're going to focus on is some of the psychological university perspectives that are out there. But from a lawyer's perspective who's dealt with enough people who've lost their job, what you find is that even speaking with a lawyer and addressing the legal aspects of your job loss are going to provide yourself with considerable clarity and focus, and especially when there's underpayments resulting from your job loss, or there's opportunity to correct the position relative to your financial situation. Speaking with a lawyer is going to be an incredibly important part of the process. Even if you don't engage that lawyer, and even if you don't pursue your former employer with respect to your firing or termination or other dismissal from your job, it is important in most circumstances to get some objective perspective from a knowledgeable person who's impartial and doesn't even really know yourself, but they'll know you with what you're telling them about. So that way, at least you have confidence as to what transpired and you know how to move forward. But let's move on to those psychological elements that we're looking to talk about in this particular video. And we find these items being reiterated over and over again by psychologists, oftentimes university professors, whether it's from the University of California, Berkeley, or other locations. But we're going to focus on the University of California, Berkeley's presentation of coping with the stress of layoff and unemployment. So one of the things you have to consider is your standard loss and grieving process medium. And that is a medium where you go through a series of triggers and how you deal with them and how you cope with them. And this is a psychological evaluation process. Starts off with shock and denial, moves to anger, resistance, sadness, acceptance. So let's tackle each of these aspects. Shock and denial. So you get your termination letter. You are in immediate shock. You don't believe this could happen to yourself. You feel you're a hard worker and the like. And you have to proceed with this. You don't believe this is happening to yourself. Deal with it. You need to move through that process. Next, there's a typical anger phase where you're upset because you believe you haven't done anything wrong. And your employer has taken advantage of you for way too many years, way too long a period of time. Then you want to resist and you want to push back on the whole idea that you've lost your job. You want to get it back. You want things to change. You want things to be advantageous to yourself. You have not been in control and somebody else has pushed you out. Then there's the phase of sadness, where you're upset, you're saddened, you're depressed about the fact that things were going your way and uncontrollably, from interests outside of your control, your position has been knocked off. And finally, acceptance, where you accept the situation that is before you and you realize that you have to move forward. Naturally, when we look at all these aspects, from a lawyer's perspective, you need to come to the realization that you have to advance certain processes quickly and rapidly, just given oftentimes time perspectives and the fact that you don't want to be dealing with something or cutting yourself off from a time position where you should have taken more immediate action. So you can go through these initial phases, allow them to go through on a separate medium or time frame, but concurrently, as soon as possible, start dealing with the right professionals, including the right legal professionals, to get perspective as to where you are. Because once you get perspective, what I've seen is oftentimes people get strength and solace from that, and they get themselves focused. Focus is incredibly important. But you're not going to get focused if you allow to internalize too much and you don't engage with others who can help you extrapolate where your situation is and start dealing with that situation. So from there, what do we need to do? Well, we have to look at other ways beyond the legal way as to how you manage your stress and frustration having lost your job. And what are some of the ways that you do this? You're going to need time to adjust to the new situation. You got to compose yourself before counterproductive to the legal aspect. You can't just simply switch yourself on from not being mad or frustrated, upset, or sad. It's going to take time. You're going to have to go through those psychological processes, but at the same time, you need to engage the proper professionals to move forward. You don't want to be ashamed. There's no shame in having lost your job. Many people lose jobs multiple times over the course of their career. It's a part of being an employee and part of life. You want to tell your friends and family as soon as possible. The worst thing to do is to internalize it and not come forward with it and deal with it. People are understanding. People are compassionate for the most part, and they recognize what happens, especially given that most of these situations are outside of your control and you had no hand in it. Even if you did, it's limited in many respects. But it is what it is. Put it out there, get it over with, and make your family and friends aware of what is happening. You want to keep your lines of communication open with everybody. You want to be engaging with them. You don't want to shut yourself off, because shutting yourself off and internalizing is going to cause you more psychological problems and stress than is necessary. Next, view this as a temporary setback. It's momentary. You can deal with it. You need to be starting to deal with it immediately on different fronts. Maybe engaging with professionals, as we've talked about, to help in the engagement process and dealing process while you go through the psychological steps and stages of the challenge. If necessary, find the right support group that can help you externalize this, cope with it, deal with it, and move forward. Not only from the perspective of finding the next job that you're looking for, but also coping with these challenges. Don't allow it to be internalized. Engage with people. And there are support groups out there, support people who can make this a more comfortable process. It's never going to be easy, but you can make it a lot easier and a lot less stressful if you seek out people who are able to work with you. Identify who are trusted friends and family members, and then talk to them. Share your emotions, express your feelings. It's the best way to get out there, to cope, and to deal with it. You want to deal with your fears directly. You want to deal with your concerns, your emotions. You don't want to hold them back and internalize them too much. Meanwhile, you want to avoid negative people. Negative people are going to be a problem all the time, but especially in the stressful time, you want to find ways to keep them at bay and focus on the people who are going to be positive and reinforce you and benefit you. Accept who you are. You don't need to change. There are changes you'll make, but don't feel like you're a failure, a loser, or you did things entirely wrong. Yes, you can improve upon yourself, but don't believe that you've done things incredibly wrong and that you have to change every part of your being. In most instances, people are good people. They've done things right. They might have slipped up here and there. But beyond that, you want to work on your strengths. Deal with your weaknesses, but stay true to yourself. And finally, you want to take care of your health. That is extremely important. You want to get your sleep in. You want to deal with your stress. You want to eat right. Get in the exercise you need. Because otherwise, you're going to internalize more and it's going to cause more problems for you, which is entirely unnecessary. So those are but some of the core aspects that are put out there from a psychological perspective as to how to deal with job loss. And job loss is a challenging thing, but it's something that you can tackle efficiently if you know what you're looking to do. So there's lots of resources out there that you can follow through, you can engage with people, and find the right path forward. But at the same time, you cannot internalize, you cannot wait on certain things. And this is particularly true from the legal perspective, where you have to make a move promptly to address those aspects. Because if there's matters that need to be addressed, you're going to actually benefit yourself by engaging with legal counsel and dealing with them now. It's going to make you a whole lot better to move forward. Because if you understand your situation from a legal and business perspective and financial perspective that much more, you're going to know how to deal with it, and you know how to protect yourself and advance yourself correctly. And especially when your finances are going to be put at risk, it's far better to strengthen your finances, to strengthen your mental position. And that is what the lawyers can do from a slight aspect in the whole process. Yes, there's more to be dealt with, but it's one aspect that you want to be tackling and not forgetting about. Thank you.